anybody who might be their first time here at the IGS Daily Sit. We are here Monday through Friday at 12:30 Eastern, uh, um, except for secular and Jewish holidays. So great to have you here. And we know that for a lot of people, it feels like we're getting a little bump in attendance in the last few weeks. And so if you've joined us or rejoined us recently, we're really glad to see you. Um, before we begin, I want to just make one program note. Today, I believe, is the last day, it is, to sign up for this amazing course, which I think many of you have probably already registered for with our wonderful colleague and IGS faculty member, Rabbi Sam Feinsmith, Sitting with the Sfirot, a Kabbalistic journey for deepening your Jewish mindfulness meditation practice. You can read the description that Rachel, who is our ACE tech person today, is putting in the chat. You can see all about it. I will just say this course, I was telling Yiscah before we got on, I think this is the first time we're offering this. I think we thought maybe 40 people would sign up, and I think we're up to 150. It's proved to be extremely popular. And so you don't want to miss out. Be part of it, be part of this wonderful community and this opportunity to learn with one of the really great Jewish meditation teachers in the world today, Sam Feinsmith. So please join us for that. Okay, that's the main thing. And then I'm not making any other plugs. And there's not a dedication today, so I'm not even going to say anything about that. What I will say is that we have one of our wonderful regular teachers today, Yiscah Smith. If you're a regular here, Yiscah's often here and often here on a Tuesday when I'm here, which is a particular delight, and is joining us from Jerusalem. Yiscah will offer a short teaching and then lead us in a period of guided and silent meditation. Everybody will be muted and the chat will be disabled during that time so we can keep our focus. And then at the end, at the top of the hour, we will have a chance for those who are honoring the memory of loved ones to do so by reciting Mourner's Kaddish. We'll invite you to unmute and you can enter names in the chat, etc. And then afterwards, we have about 15 minutes at the top of the hour where I hope you'll be able to stick around for some conversation and reflection and Q&A about the practice. So that's it. That's the story. Yiscah, welcome back. Good to see you.
Toda, Josh. Thank you. Thank you. And Baruchot Habaot, Baruchim Habaim to everyone. Welcome. Good morning to some of you. Boker Tov, Tzarayim Tovim. Good afternoon to others, and yet others. In this part of the world where I live, Erev Tov. Good evening. It is so nice and such a source of gratitude to be back, especially with the teaching that I'm so excited to share with you. It's one of my favorite teachings. It's one of my favorite parshiot, B'Shalach. It's the story of the splitting of the sea. So I'd like to share this with all of you. Open your hearts if you would. Settle in with good posture. And just imagine you're at the edge of the Sea of Reeds. You have the Egyptians pursuing you from behind. You have, according to the Midrash, you have this illusion of all these wild beasts on one side of the sea and these cliffs and high mountains on the other side. What do you do? What do you do? You cry, you pray, you surrender. Well, let's see what happened, because when Moshe brought this to God, and I have the verses, several verses here that describe what happened. Basically, we were told, go into the water. The water here is, I'm going to suggest that spiritually, emotionally, metaphorically, see yourselves not jumping into the sea, the physical sea, but see that as a metaphor for jumping into your own sea of mystery, where you can then experience true freedom. I would argue, in fact, I'm beginning to now peruse through the text and read it through. I would argue that the splitting of the sea was actually more momentous than the Hebrew slaves leaving Egypt 7 days earlier. You see, Chavre, when we first left Egypt, the night that we celebrate at the Pesach Seder. We're celebrating that we're no longer enslaved, but we're not free yet. There's a difference. Because 7 days later, when the Egyptians who were pursuing us were about to catch up to us, that's not the sign of a person who's free. So what happened here, according to the verses, as you see above, when the waters were split, the peshat, the apparent meaning is we walked through, we got to the other side, the Egyptians came in to pursue us, the waters came back down, they drowned, and we were free. Finally, we were free. And we celebrated by singing the Song of the Sea, the Shirat Hayam. There's something else going on here, much, much deeper, though, in terms of our own sea. Even today, we must dive deeper into an internal sea of mystery to become free and liberated. Let us explore that. And I would add also to my own teaching, let us explore another way of understanding cultivating mindfulness. Because when we do cultivate mindfulness in a mind, body, heart, soul modality, we do discover parts of ourselves that have been concealed. It's like scuba diving into our own inner depths. The Midrash teaches that when the verse says the waters were split in the verse, this refers not only to the water in the Sea of Reeds, which some people call the Red Sea, but actually to all the water in the world. And that's sourced in Mechilta de Rebbe Yishmael. Rabbi Yankee Tauber, writes in the name of the most recent Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, may the memory of a tzaddik be only for a blessing, that this expansive understanding of the water splitting wasn't only limited to physical water, but in true spirit of Hasidism and Neo-Hasidism, ranged from the individual sea of every soul to the cosmic sea that suffuses the deepest secrets of creation. And this is based on a talk that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in 1958 during Pesach. He goes on to teach that after the children of Israel passed through the midst of the sea, excuse me, on dry land, the waters resumed their natural course. Again, the sea world was obscured. Again, the subconscious became a mystic and secret place. But a precedent had been established. You only have to do it once to know you can do it again. The potential was now implanted, the Rebbe teaches, in our souls. Never again was the sea to be impregnable. Never again were the revealed and hidden in the human being to constitute two hermetic, separate, sealed worlds. That's what was happening here spiritually. With God splitting, with the Creator splitting of the seas, God empowered us to penetrate our individual selves, our own individual seas within us, the parts of us that have lied under the water, concealed from our consciousness, to blaze pathways of dry land on the ocean floors of our souls, moving that which was concealed to now that which becomes revealed. The divine gives all future humanity an opportunity to become aware of a dimension of living that usually is concealed underwater. I don't know, for those who have gone scuba diving or even snorkeling, I remember the first time I went snorkeling, it frightened me just going snorkeling. Whoa, I didn't know what was under the water. And as I have been cultivating over the past 15 years, different modalities in meditation and contemplative practices, Wow, I didn't know that was lying deep below my consciousness in my inner sea. Has that ever happened to you in your meditation or in your practice or in your cultivating mindfulness? Oh, it was there all the time. I didn't know it though. The divine gives all of us this opportunity to become aware of a dimension of living now that has been concealed. This can be a daily, a weekly, or once in a while occurrence. On IJS, this can be 5 days a week. You can go scuba diving into your own self with different leaders and different guides and different people that are there to help each other. We help you, you're helping us to go scuba diving spiritually, similar to the scuba diver who realizes that there is a new reality lying beneath the sea, waiting to be discovered. See, it's there, Chevre. We have so much inside of us, just waiting to be discovered. We are also given the opportunity to discover what is occurring underneath our obvious and external reality. Discovering what dwells under our individual waters is the path to true freedom, to true authentic living, and ultimately to redemption. It's like experience the coming of Mashiach, but in a micro way within our own being. And for people who pay attention to their own life journeys, it happens more frequently than not. You keep arriving at the sea again and again and again. And every time you dive in, you discover something new. And there are times we discover parts of ourselves that we'd rather not. It's like the scuba diver who discovers a piece of this or a dead that. That's part of who we are. It's part of the holistic experience. And even that has to be honored because the parts of ourselves that are more on the dark side, they're there to teach us as much as the good or the pleasant or that which gives us pleasure. Each part of ourselves is another way that the divine presence, the Shekhinah, speaks to us through the Kol Dhammadaka, the still small voice. We are thus faced with a similar situation as the children of Israel, as Bnei Yisrael. We are being asked by our own practice to jump into our own sea without any knowledge of what may happen. When they approached the sea with the Egyptians poised to attack, the Israelites, very understandably so, panicked. But when Moshe took their concerns to the eternal, the response was in Exodus 14:10-18, go forth into the sea. He didn't say go into the sea and it will split. We didn't know yet it would split. And while it may be filled with trepidation, Chavre, the act of jumping into our own sea brings a personal redemptive consciousness. It's like going skydiving. You jump out of the plane and you hope the parachute works. You won't know though till it opens. In the Midrash, we learn that the first of the Israelites to jump into the sea was Nachshon, son of Aminadab from the tribe of Yehudah, which is also the line from which the Mashiach will be born, as sourced in the Mechilta to Rabbi Ishmael that we quoted earlier. Nachshon thus represents, so fascinating, coming from the line of Yehudah, which eventually will be King David, which eventually will be the Mashiach. He's the one that jumps into the sea, representing the redemptive consciousness of trusting that the divine is compassionately encouraging every one of us, Chavre, to jump into our own sea, to immerse in our own inner waters of redemption. Each one of us possesses a spark of Nachshon within us. And this jumping into the split sea allows us to peel back all the externalities in life which conceal our awareness of our inner being. Thus, the drowning of the Egyptians symbolizes the letting go of all the forces that hold us back, that don't serve us well. They never did, and now we realize that. From jumping into our own sea, fear of the unknown, yielding to societal expectations, living the life of someone else. All of that are our spiritual Mitzrayim, our spiritual Egyptians. And we actually become enslaved to that. It's time to declare our freedom. The combination of this with the sea splitting grants us a clear vision of what lies beneath our own surface of awareness. We are not only freed, we are now able to touch the divine within us that was previously concealed under the sea. This enables each one of us, even the least spiritually sensitive person, to point into ourselves and say the line from the Song of the Sea, Ze Eli va'anvehu. This is my God, and I will glorify that piece of me that is God. It's so palpable, it's so real, I can point to it. The this in the verse refers to my inner sea of mystery, where now I encounter the divine. And let us do that now in our community here. Let us encounter the divine in our silent sit for the next 10 minutes. I invite us all to sit in a nice, comfortable position. Scan yourself, see if there's anything that needs a stretch. Let us receive 3 cleansing breathing cycles together, and then we'll sit in silence and review the text in your mind, see what thoughts come up for you, and then open your heart to experience whatever feelings may come up. Let us share 3 breaths, and then we'll move into silence. I invite all of you to join me as we bookend and conclude our sit by sharing 3 pure cleansing, life-affirming and giving breathing cycles. Toda, toda l'kulam. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you, Yiscah, and hope all of you can stay around for some Q&A and some conversation at the top of the hour if you need to leave. We wish you Tzeitchem l'shalom, farewell, and be back here same time, same channel tomorrow and every day this week. Right now, we have an opportunity for those who are remembering loved ones, either in a time of mourning or on a yortzeit, an anniversary of a death, to join us in reciting the Mourner's Kaddish. If you want to include the name of someone you're remembering today, you can do that in the chat. And Rachel has put the text of the Mourner's Kaddish up on the screen. And you're welcome to unmute and join me in reciting Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah v'yalma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchuti b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol b'rit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mavarach le'olam almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitzeh v'yithadar v'yit'ale v'yithalal shmei v'kudusha brichu le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata v'amiranda alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Oseh shalom b'mamav, Oseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol Yisrael.
Amen. Amen.
Right. So thank you, everybody. So we'll bring Yiscah back. Here we go. Okay, Yiscah, thank you as always for your Torah and for your teaching, your practice, and just this beautiful, so rich, this reflection on sort of the spiritual meaning of passing through, uncovering. I mean, I think that was really even more so than it was interesting. You mentioned skydiving. I told my kids recently, God willing, my 50th birthday is coming up in a little over a year. And I said, you know what I really want to do for my 50th birthday? I want to go skydiving. And so, but that notion of living, of breaking through or softening, right? Softening the fear that holds us back. You know, the other thing that strikes me is just, you know, the image of Paro, of Pharaoh, who has this hard heart and who's always, you know, sort of holding on, right? Let my people go. Well, let it go, you know. And he's sort of the ultimate example of somebody who is so clingy, you know, so clinging that his heart becomes hardened. So just so many dimensions of, you know, of this. And I would love to invite, you know, folks. I guess I already see a little bit of in the chat here, but I'd love to just hear a little more from folks about, you know, what came up for you in the course of that teaching, and also if you have a question, you know, as usual, just put it question all caps, helps us to you know, don't do the whole question all caps, just say question all caps and then write your question, but that helps us to see it, to identify it. But yeah, I you know, normally I would say I'm wondering how this is working in your own life. I mean, it's always working in your own life, I'm sure. This is such an essential teaching. But I do wonder, just okay, today, how do you feel like that's showing up for you, this work?
It's showing up by me letting go and being prepared for the unknown.
Mm,
I How does one prepare for the unknown? It's not like when you're preparing to go scuba diving or skydiving. You prepare with the essentials of whatever is necessary. I sense that what I mean by preparing is I am vulnerable, I'm trusting, because I dafka don't know what I will find on today's dive
hmm
into either out of the plane or into the sea. However, what's wonderful about cultivating practice is that I'm not as afraid. It doesn't mean everything I'll find I like. I mentioned that during the teaching, but I'm
hmm
not as afraid. I don't, fear doesn't hold me back anymore. And it did for years. I was afraid of what I would find, so I didn't. Now I'm not afraid of what I'll find. I just don't know what I'll find. And that movement
Mm.
really builds on itself. So it allows me to, in the middle of a war, in the middle of whatever politics is going on, whatever economic situations may be going on, where I'm needed to help, like in my family, with my kids, with my community, with Pardes, with AJS, with IJS, with my book, with my publicist. Like there's this all like a lot of terrain that's in front of me, and I'm not really sure about any of it except I love and I love. And I know that without this work, I cannot connect as deeply as I try to. So,
Mm. I,
yeah.
you know, that it's so beautiful and so simple how you just described, right? Moving from the unknown causing fear to just the unknown being unknown, and what a move. I mean, to me, it's a lot like in the Buddhist teaching, the second arrow, right? That there's the first arrow of whatever suffering we may have, and then the second arrow is our resistance to the suffering, right? And so the second arrow is our own doing. The first arrow we can't do anything about. Um, and uh, and so, yeah, the unknown is always there. So how do we, and that takes a lot because we have so many built-in safety mechanisms, in our reptilian brain that want us to be afraid of the unknown. But that you summed up so, just so beautifully, like, what so much of this is all about. And I think again of like in the Exodus story, there's so many moments in the story where like if that moment doesn't happen, the rest of it doesn't happen, right? And I think my mind goes to when you mentioned that Moshe deciding to look at the bush and say, "Oh, I'm going to turn my this is unknown. How interesting! I want to go find out more," rather than, "Wow, this is like scary, and I'm gonna run away," which is really fascinating. Wow.
Yeah, it's cultivating curiosity rather than the fear defining us. It's like we become our own explorer of self with curiosity even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's related to the curiosity rather than conviction, etc. I'm looking at there's a lot of stuff in the chat, and I want to get to a lot of comments, just so many good comments. Um, this is an interesting one. Eileen's question. You said there's a spark of Nachshon in all of us. I understand that there's a spark of God in all of us, but why Nachshon? You want to say a little more on that?
Yeah, I'd love to. It's a teaching from the Zohar that all the greats that we read about, beginning with Abraham, actually in Noah, even Adam and Chava, that whatever they mean, however they play out in our history, in our biblical history, the energy in that is called a spark of their soul that's in us. So it's not just a spark of Nachshon, we also have a spark of Paro in us. We have a spark of, like you said, clinging and not letting go under all costs. So all the different people that we study, all these men and women that historically came onto the scene in Jewish history when they were meant to, and then they left. That's history. But we are the inheritors of their sparks, meaning a piece of their energy. What do we learn from Moshe? We have a piece of Moshe. Shepherd leadership, how to lead in service. Today it's called servant leadership. It's a common term among many non-Jewish, even in different corporations, they study about servant. That's shepherd leadership from Moshe. So here, the jumping into the unknown, because you have to in order to be free. That's the Nachshon in us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it's based in the Zohar.
The ability to yes, to wade in, into the unknown. Yeah. Um, there's also this question I saw here. This is such a big question. How to deal with the fear of not finding anything? That I might, what if nothing happens? Or what if there's nothing there? Right? Um, that's a fascinating fear.
Well, I can only answer that question from my experience and my own theology, because it's the soul or manifestations of the soul, expressions of the soul that I'm discovering. It will outlive me. I can't imagine. And again, I don't want to say anything where if you really believe in God, then you absolutely will believe this. In my 70 plus years of living on this planet, haven't been doing this work for 70 plus years, but what led me to it and being committed to it, I've never come up empty-handed. I just can't imagine. I would say that's maybe my last breath. My creator will say, okay, there's no reason to go scuba diving anymore because there's nothing left to discover. And now it's time for the soul to go to the next realm. So that's in my wildest imagination how I would think I would experience that.
Hmm.
But I'm finding a wealth. I find a wealth of beautiful, beautiful gems, even when they don't really look so pretty. They are, because that's part of who I am, and I was created that way intentionally.
I've found for myself, I don't have as much experience as you, but we've established that. But I've got my own experience, and I've found very recently I had this real strong sensation this past Shabbos. Um, I was in shul and I was davening, and I felt this real, like, just deep sense of like alignment and at homeness in the words of the Siddur, like of Tefillah, um, which, and it's hard to describe, but it was like just I really felt called, moved to just really take my time with them
Wow.
and to experience them, like just like really almost being held by the words, right? Like I wasn't even, and uh and so I and that came about through opening myself up to, I had to be willing to open myself up to that, and then it sort of emerged in front of me.
Yes, yes,
So I think that
yes.
you don't know. I mean, like you said, it's unknown. You don't know what's going to happen. And some days there may not be anything there. Some days you don't have such a great set. Okay, that's all right. It's part of the journey. Some days there will be things, and some days there might not. So, I wanted to come back. There was a question towards the beginning here, Yiscah, that it was, I mean, very specific, but I wanted to make sure we lifted this up, and and give you a chance to respond. One person who asked about seems to have been mistreated in the kahal and the congregation where they're part of, where I guess the president of the synagogue uh, deliberately misgendered them and has barred them from services. And I just wonder, to apply that teaching, to apply your teaching, your Torah, and the rest of your life to responding to, this is Racheli, who asked this question. Yeah, I wonder if there's anything how you would respond to that.
Well, this is al regel achat. This is the on one foot answer. There are two avenues, two different paths here, tracks, so to speak, of response. One is, how do I respond to me being treated this way? And how do I respond to the person who mistreated me? And part of that is, do I? So whether I do or not, it must follow, I would think, at least in my history, I would need to first process what was going on inside of me and do my scuba diving and discover what inner resources I have to heal from the hurt. What is it? What is being asked of me? And I'll go back to an event with King David when I forget his advisor's name. Oh, I just forget. You may remember, Josh, when he spoke out of turn and he really he ostracized and he argued with King David, and it was deserving of capital punishment at that time. To argue and insult the king was equivalent to actually challenging the monarch, where the punishment was capital punishment, and King David did not. And his advisors were like, he said, I had to hear what he had to say. He'll be punished. He'll answer to God for what he did. I had to hear it. Now, I'm not talking to Racheli now in Racheli's situation. I only know in my situations. Every time I'm hurt, which is, thank God, at this point in my life is not a lot. I don't want to, but I've been hurt. We all have been hurt. Dr. Edith Ever Eger says in the foreword to her book, in the introduction rather, everyone is, what does she say? Everyone is victimized, and some people choose to move out of victimhood, and some people, like she made the choice to stay in it for a while and then to go out of it. But we're all hurt. I have, thank God, through my own practice and my learning and my engaging with other people, and I would suggest try this on for size. What am I supposed to learn from this? What is being asked of me? Because it did not happen, as cruel as it is, as hurtful as it is. It didn't happen outside of divine will, whatever that means, out of the existence of the divine. So maybe, like King David, I had to hear it because of what I'll do with it. And I've had some moments over the past, like I said, not so much recently, but like 20 years ago, 10 years ago, that were terrible, terrible. And I sat with it to say, what am I supposed to learn from this? Is a teaching for me. Doesn't mean what the person did was okay. And then the second response is, how do I respond to the person? Do I say something? Sometimes I have, sometimes I haven't. If anything, I would say this to Racheli and to everyone else. You didn't do anything wrong. It's not a matter of, well, I deserve it because. No, that's out of the practice. We don't go there. That's not part. There's no one deserves that. That's not in Hebrew magia li. It happened. It hurts. It's heartbreaking. The calling is to move with it and heal and see what happens. See what you'll discover about yourself. And then you can choose if you want to respond to the person. I would not recommend reacting quickly. I would sit with it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope
Hard
that helps.
stuff.
I
Thank
really
you.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I think, yeah, and if it's helpful, you're more comfortable with language of divine will and what I'm supposed to learn from this. If that language doesn't work for you, you can also just massage that a little bit and say, what might I learn? Right? What's possible? What's the opportunity for learning here? Right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think, right, but also claiming my own agency, to the extent that I can. It's not an experience that I have had, Racheli, in that way. Yeah, like a lot of people are saying beautifully in the chat, our heart goes out to you and to anybody to everybody who might be hurting today, that hopefully this teaching and this practice and this community can be a source of comfort and healing for you. So, all right, we're at our time, and I want to respect that. And thank you to the 144 people who stayed for this conversation. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll give everybody a few seconds if you want to download the chat. Now's a good time.
Oh, how do you
And
do that? How do you
Oh,
do
you
it?
could, the three dots, the three dots where it says daily meditation sit, and then you say save chat, and it'll save right to your computer. So a lot of people like to do that. Uh, so there you go. See that it was the unknown. You didn't know what would happen, and now like you learn, even Yiscah, you learned something new here today. So it's so
Well,
great.
it's amazing. You're
Okay.
right.
All right.
Yeah.
So everyone, thank you so much. And we'll be back
Mm,
tomorrow, same time and channel. Take care, everybody.
yeah.
Okay.
Kultu, everyone. Shalom.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.